You just bought a $1,200 phone on a payment plan. $50 a month for 24 months. Easy, right? Except you didn't pay $1,200. You paid $2,847, and I can prove it with simple math. Let me show you why almost everything you think you can afford, you actually can't. My name is Brad, and I love to stare at spreadsheets so you don't have to. And if you think the monthly payment trap is destroying people's ability to build wealth, hit that subscribe button because we're on the same page. Today, I'm going to introduce you to a rule that's going to change how you look at every purchase for the rest of your life. It's called the buy it twice rule. And it goes like this. If you can't afford to buy something twice in cash, you can't afford to buy it once. Period. I know what you're thinking. Brad, that's extreme. Nobody buys things twice. That doesn't make sense. But hear me out. Because when you understand the real math behind financing, when you see the actual cost of paying for things over time, you'll realize this rule isn't extreme at all. It's just honest. Here's the thing. We live in a monthly payment world. Everything is sold to you as a payment, not a price. A payment. Your phone? $50 a month. Your car? $420 a month. Your furniture? $89 a month. Your mattress? $67 a month. Even your laptop can be financed now. And here's what companies have figured out. Your brain doesn't process monthly payments the same way it processes total costs. When someone says $1,200, your brain goes, "Whoa, that's a lot of money." But when someone says $50 a month, your brain goes, "I can do that. It's the same amount of money, but it doesn't feel the same." And that feeling is costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. Let me show you what I mean. According to data from the Federal Reserve, the average American has $7,951 in revolving debt. That's credit cards and payment plans. They're paying an average of 22.8% interest on that debt. That means they're paying about $1,813 a year just in interest, not paying down what they owe, just interest. That's $1,813 a year that disappears. For nothing. You're not buying anything with that money. You're not investing it. You're not saving it. It's just gone. And most people don't even realize it's happening because it's hidden in monthly payments. But here's where it gets really bad. It's not just the interest, it's the opportunity cost. Every dollar you spend on payments is a dollar you can't invest. And every dollar you don't invest costs you way more than you think. Let me break down the real cost of that $1,200 phone. Because this is going to blow your mind. You want a new phone. It costs $1,200. You have two options: pay cash or finance it at $50 a month for 24 months with zero interest. Most people think, zero interest? That's free money. I'll take the payment plan and keep my cash. But that's wrong. Let me show you why. Option 1, you pay $1,200 cash. The phone is yours. Done. Total cost, $1,200. Option 2, you finance it, $50 a month for 24 months. But here's what actually happens. You keep that $1,200 in your account, but do you invest it? No, most people don't. It sits in checking, earning nothing, or worse, they spend it on other stuff because they can't afford it since they're not tied up in the phone purchase. Let's say you keep it and invest it. At 10% average annual return, that $1,200 would grow to about $1,464 over 2 years. But you're also not investing the $50 a month you're paying. If you had bought the phone in cash and then invested $50 a month for the next 24 months, you'd have $1,323 at the end. So by financing, you gave up $1,587 in investment growth. You paid $1,200 for the phone through payments. The real cost? $2,787. You almost paid for that phone twice. Now you might be thinking, but Brad, that example assumed I invested the money. What if I'm not investing anyway? Then it's even worse. Because now you spent the $1,200 on other stuff, and you still paid $1,200 for the phone. You spent $2,400 total and got a phone and a bunch of stuff you probably didn't need. This is where things get interesting. The buy it twice rule forces you to ask the right question. Not can I afford the payment, but is this worth twice what it costs? Because that's the real cost. When you finance something, when you pay for it over time instead of saving up and paying cash, you're paying for it twice. Once in actual money and once in opportunity cost. Let me give you a bigger example. A car. The average new car in 2025 costs about $48,000. The average car payment is $736 a month for 68 months. That's $50,048 in total payments, already more than the sticker price because of interest. But wait, there's more. If instead of making that payment, you invested $736 a month for 68 months at 10% average return, you'd have $64,387. You paid $50,048 for the car. You gave up $64,387 in potential investment growth. The real cost of that car, $114,435. You paid for that car 2.4 times. For a car, a thing that loses value the second you drive it off the lot. Now apply the buy it twice rule. Can you afford to spend $96,000 in cash on a car? Because that's what it's really costing you. If the answer is no, then you can't afford the car. Period. But Brad, you're saying, nobody could afford anything with that rule. How am I supposed to get to work? And that's exactly my point. You're not supposed to buy a $48,000 car. You're supposed to buy a $12,000 used car that you can actually afford. Can you buy a $12,000 car twice? If you have $24,000 saved up, then yes, buy the car for $12,000 cash. You still have $12,000 left. You can afford it. And here's the beautiful part. Instead of making a $736 car payment for the next 5.5 years, you invest that $736 every month. After those same 68 months, you have $64,387 in your investment account. And you still have your $12,000 car. The person who bought the $48,000 car has a car worth maybe $28,000 now in zero savings. You have a car worth maybe $8,000 and $64,387 in investments. You're ahead by $44,387. Same time period, different choices. This isn't just about cars. This applies to everything. Furniture, electronics, clothes, whatever. If you can't buy it twice in cash, you can't actually afford it once. Now let me show you something even more insane. The lifetime cost of the monthly payment mindset. Let's take two people. Person A pays cash for everything. Person B finances everything. Both make $60,000 a year. Let's track them over 20 years. Person A saves up and buys a $12,000 car every 6 years. 3 cars over 20 years. Total cost, $36,000. They buy a $1,200 phone every 3 years. 7 phones over 20 years. Total cost, $8,400. They save up for furniture, electronics, everything. They spend about $2,000 a year on these types of purchases. Total over 20 years, $40,000. Add the cars and phones, $84,400 total spent over 20 years. Person B finances a $48,000 car every 6 years at $736 a month, 3 cars over 20 years. Total payments, $150,144. They finance a $1,200 phone every 3 years at $50 a month, 7 phones over 20 years. Total payments, $8,400. They finance everything, furniture, electronics, whatever. Between all their payment plans, they're paying about $3,600 a year. Total over 20 years, $72,000. Add the cars and phones, $230,544 total, spent over 20 years. Person A spent $84,400. Person B spent $230,544. That's a difference of $146,144 just in actual payments. But remember, it's not just what you spend. It's what you don't invest. Person A, because they're spending less, can invest $600 a month. Over 20 years at 10% average return, that's $458,594. Person B, because they're making payments, can only invest $100 a month over 20 years at 10% average return. That's $76,432. Person A has $458,594. Person B has $76,432. That's a difference of $382,162. Same income, same 20 years. One person focused on monthly payments, the other person focused on actual affordability. The difference is life-changing. Here's what changed everything for me. I was at the car dealership. I was looking at a truck. I wanted it bad. It was $52,000. The dealer broke down the payment, $812 a month, and he said the magic words. "You can afford this, right? It's only $812 a month." And something in my brain clicked. I did the math right there. $812 a month for 72 months. That's $58,464 in payments. But if I invested that $812 instead, in 6 years, I'd have $83,117. The real cost wasn't $52,000. It wasn't even $58,464. It was $141,581. I would have paid for that truck 2.7 times. For a truck that would lose half its value in 4 years, I walked out, bought a $15,000 used truck cash, and started investing $812 a month. Best financial decision I ever made. Because 6 years later, I had $83,117 in investments, and my truck still ran fine. My friend who bought the $52,000 truck, his truck was worth about $26,000. He still owed $18,000 on it, and he had zero savings. I tried to explain the math to him. He said, "Yeah, but you drive an old truck." He was right. I did drive an old truck that let me build $83,117 in wealth while he built debt. That's when I created the buy it twice rule. Because if I can't look at a purchase and say, I could buy this twice right now in cash and it wouldn't significantly hurt me, then I can't actually afford it. The payment might fit my budget, but the real cost doesn't fit my wealth-building plan. Here's what most people don't realize. Affordability isn't about the monthly payment. It's about the total impact on your financial life. Can you make a $500 a month payment? Sure. But that $500 a month for 5 years is $30,000 in payments plus $36,234 in lost investment growth. That's $66,234 in real cost. Does spending $66,234 on this thing change your financial life? Does it set back your retirement? Does it delay buying a house? Does it mean you can't build an emergency fund? If yes, you can't afford it. Doesn't matter if you can make the payment. The monthly payment mindset is the mathematical definition of being broke. You're not broke because you don't have income. You're broke because all your income is already spoken for. You've committed to so many payments that you have no money left to build wealth. Look at your bank account right now. How much do you have? Now look at all your monthly payments. How many months of payments could you cover if you lost your job today? For most people, the answer is 3 months or less. Some people, it's less than 1 month. That's not being able to afford your life. That's being one emergency away from disaster. Here's the truth. If you're financing liabilities, you can't afford them. A liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket. Cars, phones, furniture, clothes. If it doesn't make you money and you have to finance it, you can't afford it. The buy it twice rule is simple. Before you buy something, ask yourself, could I buy this twice in cash right now without significantly impacting my financial stability? If the answer is no, don't buy it. Save up until the answer is yes. This forces you to do 2 things. First, it makes you buy less expensive stuff. Instead of a $48,000 car, you buy a $12,000 car. Because you can't afford to buy the $48,000 car twice. But you can afford to buy the $12,000 car twice if you have $24,000 saved. Second, it forces you to save money before you buy. No more instant gratification. No more, I'll pay for it over time. You save first, then you buy. And by the time you've saved enough to buy it twice, you might not even want it anymore. Here's how you actually implement this. Starting today, no more financing liabilities. None. If you can't pay cash, you don't buy it. period. For things you already financed, make a plan to pay them off as fast as possible. Every extra dollar goes to eliminating these payments. Get rid of them. Free up that cash flow. Then start building your cash reserves. Your goal is to have enough cash saved that you could buy the things you need twice. Want a $15,000 car? Save $30,000 first. Then buy the car for $15,000 cash. You still have $15,000 left. That's real affordability. For recurring purchases like phones, create a sinking fund. If you replace your phone every 3 years and it costs $1,200, save $33 a month. In 3 years, you have $1,200 cash. Buy the phone. Start saving again. No payments, no interest, no stress. And here's what's going to happen. You're going to buy way less stuff. Because when you have to save up and pay cash, you realize most of the stuff you thought you needed, you don't actually need. The friction of saving forces you to really think about if something is worth it. You're also going to buy better quality stuff. Because when you're paying cash, you're more careful. You do more research, you buy things that last. When you're financing, you're less careful because it's just a payment. It doesn't feel like real money. And most importantly, you're going to start building wealth. Because all those payments you're not making anymore, that money goes to investments. That money compounds. That money builds your future. The average American makes about 600 monthly payments in their lifetime. Car payments, phone payments, furniture payments, all of it. If those payments average $300 a month and they invested that money instead at 10% return over 40 years, they'd have over $1.9 million. Most people retire broke, not because they didn't make enough money, but because they spent their whole life making payments instead of building wealth. They thought they could afford things because they could afford the payment, but they were wrong. The payment was the trap. Stop thinking in monthly payments. Start thinking in total costs. Real total costs, not just the sticker price, not just the interest, but the opportunity cost, the investment growth you're giving up, the wealth you're not building. If you can't buy it twice in cash, you can't afford it. That's the rule. Follow it, and in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you'll be wealthy while everyone around you is still making payments on stuff they bought that's already broken or outdated. Affordability isn't, can I make the payment? Affordability is, does buying this change my financial life in a negative way? If it delays your wealth building, if it commits your future income, if it leaves you with no buffer, then you can't afford it. Even if you can technically make the payment, the buy it twice rule eliminates this problem. It forces you to have real financial margin. It forces you to build wealth before you spend. It forces you to live like you're getting rich instead of pretending you're already rich. This is how you actually build wealth. Not by optimizing payments, not by finding the best financing deals, but by not financing anything at all. By paying cash, by having money before you spend it, by making sure you can genuinely afford something before you buy it. Watch the next video where I show you exactly how to escape payment plans you're already trapped in.